Sorry about the glare, not enough powder. So we came from probably one of the best generations there are. And I know all generations potentially say that, but I really think our music, our movies, the 80s, oh my God, amazing. So if you're watching this, you're born before 1975, great. You're in the right place. If you're watching this, you're born after it, it might be give you a couple years of breathing room. But other than that, I definitely would say you might want to move on to somebody of the younger crowd. But we're going to talk about artificial intelligence, kind of giving you ideas and maybe having you explore it. Now, listen, if you're looking at it, you're like, well, I want nothing to do with that. I'm already out to pasture. I'm trying to relax, trying to be retired. Well, you go be you. But for those of you that might be a little curious, wondering what's going on under the hood and what things to watch out for, this is definitely a video for you. Now, if you have family and you have older people, then your periphery that you've been trying to explain things to, and they're really not following because, I mean, it's a lot to take in. And maybe they're not even interested. Maybe you might want to send this to them, kind of give them an idea and say, listen, there's somebody kind of like you, grandpa, grandma, mom, dad, or whomever that are kind of in that same circumstance, but maybe they've kind of tried to break out of it to try to shed some light on how this whole thing might be going. So when we grew up back in the 60s and 70s, it was quite a good time. And I'll tell you, when you have kids and they're trying to take some project into school, a lot of me, at least part of me and the people that I know, they were of the concept of, well, you're really going to take that to school? You're not going to take it into the classroom right away? I mean, aren't there going to be kids out there? They're going to break it, destroy it, and make fun of it and laugh at it? And they say, well, no. That doesn't happen these days. Well, okay, different place, right? But that's the first thing in my mind. Well, we grew up at a real wonderful time. It was stressful, it seemed, and the bullying seemed to be kind of everywhere. And that's maybe some of the reasons why we had particular life decisions because of how hard we were leaned on by those, well, the kids that maybe didn't have good parenting. But looking at today, we can look back and see that, well, it was a wonderful time, but the world has definitely changed and it's changed fast. We grew up in a time when maybe you were on a party line like me, maybe when you got into business sometime in the 90s or later, maybe a little earlier, that fax machines weren't something to be trusted, but they did catch on. And I know that having to wait on a party line till the phone line was clear to be able to talk to people or listening into the neighbor lady who happened to be divorced and single was very exciting. Well, the internet then happened in our time too. And you remember the dial up America Online. You remember all the different search engines out there, the Ask Jeeves and all these different places that we would do general searches. It was really that Netscape moment for us when the browser was put into play and we were able to use a browser to surf the World Wide Web. At that time when it came out, the infrastructure wasn't already laid, though, because the dial up speeds were nowhere near where they are today. In fact, you might be flirting with up to a gigabyte in speed. And if you're in a place lucky enough to have Google Fiber, I mean, it's completely unlocked in some of those cases. It's no longer having to watch an image load line by line, if you remember from back in the day. So I'm going to say back in the day a lot because I do have a very soft spot in for my history, as you maybe do too. Maybe for you, it was a horrible time. But we are getting into a much different time. So I think that's something we should at least make ourselves aware of. And that's where this particular video series, the 17-parter, is going to talk about AI for those of us over 50 years old. So like I said, 1975 before, well, you should watch. And if you know somebody in this genre, please send this to them as well so they can at least maybe understand more than they do currently about where potentially this is going to go and how it might play out. Now, for most people that are watching this, if you're watching people that are telling you this is exactly what's going to happen with AI, it's going to give us job loss, it's going to make everything great, or it's going to make everything horrible, it's going to ruin things or make things better, they really don't know. We're talking about something that's above our level of intelligence. Up to this point, for us, especially those in my generation, people that were above our intelligence, well, at least to us, probably weren't a lot of people. And maybe if there were a lot of people, the ultimate supreme authority for our generation was God. Now, whether you believe in God or don't believe in God, that's not the purpose of this video. But the creator, something, some being, some entity that was smarter than us, that was always kind of, at least in my generation, was thought to be something. Now, you could be an atheist totally against anything other than us. We evolve, but even evolution carries with it a certain amount of intelligence. pretty smart. I mean, you got to admit to it. If we came from a single cell organism or some result of a meteor strike, and we're here in this blue planet that we sit on with the right water, the right nitrogen, the right oxygen, the right carbon dioxide, the right everything in the universe, the particular perfectly situated distance from the sun, calling our Earth a Goldilocks planet, with a moon that keeps the waters churning all the time. And, the earth probably has been frozen over a few times. We have dinosaurs. I mean, there's just a lot. I mean, I think it's pretty remarkable. So with all of that being by accident, you can go there, but that accidental nature carries with it, I think, a certain amount of intelligence. Well, watch where we're going. That's nothing anyway. So we have artificial intelligence, and you're wondering, well, isn't it just like a calculator or a computer, Connor? Isn't that all it is? Yeah, no, it's a lot more than that. It's because what they've been able to come up with here in the last, since sometime in 2015ish, 2017, they came up with the best way that a computer system could mimic the human brain with a particular type of programming or architecture, if you will, the transformer model. And Google came up with it. Google, you might know Google, you probably Google things. They have their own version of artificial intelligence, which is known as Gemini. So it's their own thing. Facebook has theirs. Another one, ChatGPT, is OpenAI. That's OpenAI's product, ChatGPT. That's theirs. Now they're kind of in it with Microsoft. Microsoft, you might know Bill Gates, right? Microsoft's been around since 75. I mean, it's really, really been there a long time. They have Copilot, but they're kind of in it with OpenAI. That's kind of confusing. There's a lot to talk about, but just know there's 4 or 5 really big players in the AI space, and they're all in a race. They're in a race to get to what's known as artificial general intelligence. That would be when these systems are able to basically do every task, every thought, every discipline, every profession better than human beings. All human beings, all of them. So the top number one scientist, trump that person. The top number one whatever, trump that person. That's where that artificial general intelligence is supposed to take us. What does that mean for people and jobs and employment? Again, people say it's going to be really bad or it's going to be really good, but maybe you're retired. Me, I'm still working for a living. I will work until I die because that makes me happy. So we're going to push forward in this, and well, I'll keep you posted. But if you're sitting comfortably, this is something that you might want to wrap your mind around because it is transformative beyond what we've seen to this point. Now, I talked about us growing up at a time when we might have been sharing a phone line with a whole bunch of other people in houses on our block. My mother worked for the phone company, Mountain Bell, back in the day, and Mountain Bell, of course, was absorbed by AT&T, and then that's really just been spun out to a very nth degree. Remember phone long distance? Remember long distance? Remember having a local phone company and having to pay long distance for any outside of area calls, even within the same area code, the prefix, a different prefix cost money. If you're not familiar with this and you broke the rule, you're watching this born after 1975, it was a very weird thing. We also had to wait for phone calls at a particular time. We didn't have any way to record the phone call. We didn't have answer machines, didn't have call waiting. That came much later. And especially in New Mexico, I think California might have gotten it early, but I grew up watching Channel 5 KTLA as a kid. I Dream of Jeannie and all of those shows. So that's kind of my programming. And I came out here to play LAPD cop back in 1990 at 21 years of age. So move forward to today. The way that the systems are working based on intelligence, and that's the game changer. So if you're thinking that maybe this is going to be very similar to maybe some other changes we've had in the past, the printing press, that was kind of a big deal. If you do your research on the Gutenberg printing press, 1400s-ish, that was based on intelligence. Somebody had the idea to be able to mass manufacture the printing press, another idea. Agricultural revolution, idea. Intelligence. To be able to farm and make multiple crops and make it for a lot of people, storage, intelligence, right? Then moving from that to the industrial revolution, just to connect all the dots, intelligence. Somebody came up with the idea, Britain 1880-ish, industrial revolution. It didn't roll out all at once. The horse to car thing, that didn't roll out all at once. It took time. The horse to car thing, they never thought cars were going to be anything. Ford came up with the concept. Well, probably more than him, but intelligence based, and they didn't have the roads in place. All the stuff was still dirt for wagons, for horse drawn carriages. They didn't have the particular infrastructure in place. But 40 years, they got all the roads built, right? So then they had that in place. So you have these different revolutions. Agricultural, it took a while to roll out. The industrial, it took a while to roll out, to get from Britain to here, to build the factories, come up with the training program, which I think a lot of the educational system is still built on that particular type of training. They're still training us to be factory workers in school. I think we can all potentially agree. But that process is going to be changed. You're going to have artificial intelligence at some point teaching. And then depending on its alignment, I mean, the teacher, you could go and maybe you agreed the way that they were teaching your kids or the way they didn't, if you're watching this. Maybe you had a few times you got to go down to the school and have a conversation. In the future, your kids or their kids, when you and don't forget me wrong, you might still be here. So don't think you're going to be checking out at a typical traditional age. If you can hold on and get to the point where you've been able to reach escape velocity, meaning escaping death, and that's something that's talked about too. I don't know how long it's going to take. Could be around the corner, could be one more good idea away, another good idea that's come up with by artificial intelligence, away from you getting some kind of a 50-year boost in your aging cycle. Maybe you're 56 like I am. Maybe you're going to go to 106 if you could hold on another 5 years. And then after that, maybe another couple hundred years. Now, I won't get into all this mess of consciousness and putting your being into a machine or transferring consciousness. That's a lot. It hasn't been explained properly, and I would be concerned that you make a copy of Connor, the copy goes on and does its own thing, and this one, the real Connor, has to now be destroyed. And then I'll know that I'm being destroyed. Yeah, it's just a mess. So, but anyway, yeah, would that be possible? Sure. Are we really special as human beings? I mean, fantastically special. Sure, for us being human beings, I believe we believe we're special. And I'm not trying to discount creation, evolution, whatever it is you side with. You know, we're special on this planet. We haven't found nothing even close to it. We haven't found other life. You watch the TV all you want as far as the UFO stuff, but I mean, showing it to us here it is. This is it. Yeah, we don't have that yet. Hell, we can't even find the missing links between us and the monkeys. So there's, they think they found it, but it's not conclusive. I mean, God, you would think there would be so much. Anyway, that doesn't matter. I'm not going to go on down that road. Artificial intelligence, very smart. So it took a while for these previous revolutions to roll out, to actually get established. The difference between artificial intelligence, number one, based on intelligence, any past revolution, even the capture, manipulation, and usage of fire by some ancestor that we all share in common back in the day, that was special. To be able to make fire at will, to be able to utilize it, to cook things or attack people or burn down villages, use it in good and bad ways. Yeah, to be able to control that was intelligence. So as we move through, you're thinking, well, isn't this just another type of revolution? Intelligence was responsible for everything in the past. This revolution is intelligence. And intelligence is going to solve cancer. Okay, my generation would say, yeah, if they allow it. You know how much money they make from keeping cancer going and not fixing it? Yeah, I know. So there's that. So could it solve cancer? Yes, I think so. And it sounds like that's what certain powers that be, certain organizations, certain controllers of the technology and builders of it would like to have happen. Is that going to be stopped by the people that are in control? Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll have to see. But that's the power. Artificial intelligence has all the freeways, pathways, all the roads have been built. Everything's in place. And why? Well, that came up during the internet. Remember that? Well, it was at the beginning. If you're kind of around my age, a little nerdy, you dialed up in your hometown, maybe some phone number and connected to somebody else's computer. And it was a little weird. I mean, the screen was Was it black and white? Probably black and white. Probably a Commodore 64, if I'm remembering right. And you dialed into a certain number. Of course, that tied up your phone line, so nobody could call you. Again, dating myself. But that being the case, you would call up and there would be somebody on the other end if you're lucky enough to get in. And here you are, a whole bunch of kids sitting around a computer. And of course, as kid boys, you're going to start to try to do something probably not kosher if mom was watching. But anyway, you try. And so that's kind of where it started. It was very exciting. It was, but now, I mean, my God, our kids have everything. Your kids, your grandkids, they're able to dial up stuff on their phone that would have just made us completely freak out as kids. And today, to them, not a big deal. To us, the Sears catalog was just phenomenal. So the internet came, and it's translated into a lot of foundational avenues being paved to prepare everything for artificial intelligence. And they did. We have high speed fiber, we have high speed internet. The TV needed satellites to really become amazing, right? The vehicle needed roads to really become amazing. And that took years. The Industrial Revolution needed to move to a particular area. Then the factories had to be built and manned and prepared. Agriculture, the tools, the systems, that had to be put together. This is already all set. The Netscape moment for artificial intelligence, November 30th, 2022. Netscape meaning that was the browser that made the internet something. Mo Godwat, one of the great talkers I love to listen to talking about AI, that's his concept. And that makes sense to our generation when you were actually able to go on the World Wide Web from your particular computer and use an interface, a browser. Netscape, now it's Chrome. You might use Safari. You may use, I don't even know if Internet Explorer. I think they have, Microsoft has its version of browser. But that was the moment. ChatGPT, the AI moment, was when it had its interface. And that came out November 30th, 2022, I believe. November 30th. So that's when the whole world became aware. The adoption cycle of that versus the internet was leaps and bounds. Generationally, that probably fits pretty good. You have us, our generation, that probably looked at it a little bit, probably nowhere as near the kids that were using it. And now today, the future of this, as we get into more of these classes, for those of you over 50 talking about AI, it's more than likely going to translate into the relationships, the connections, the AI systems themselves being so good, so fantastically remarkable that they just bypass us in all areas, including consciousness, poetry, music, ideas. And as far as some of the futurists that talk about this, there will be no more human ideas because we're tapped out as far as our intelligence goes. If you have a particular level of intelligence and you meet a cat that's got, not a cat, a person, but my generation would have called it a cat, unlike another individual. You meet a cat that has double your intelligence, triple your intelligence. I don't know what that looks like. And then you meet something that not only has that, but has all the world's knowledge. Every book ever written, every video, every TikTok, every Instagram, every Facebook video, every news article, every TV show, every news event, everything from the beginning of recorded time to present memorized and able to access it in nanoseconds immediately and then put it into whatever format best communicates with you. Well, that's artificial intelligence. That's amazing. And if we're asking ourselves if it will be smarter than us, better than us, more conscious than us, more creative than us, yes, it probably will. What does that mean to us? Right now, if you're looking, your social media, if you're on there, and this is not a secret, this isn't just guessing, this is truth. You can look and you can see the different algorithms, the way that it gives you, it feeds you content. It's incredibly addictive. Our dopamine is getting spiked continually. That's why it's difficult to pull away. That's why you just want to sit and glue and flip and flip and flip. And what you'll notice is human beings, as a rule, the happy stuff doesn't really keep us interested. It's that edgy, that angry, that stuff that pisses us off that keeps us going. Well, AI figured that out. So for the past several years, even before the Chat GPT moment, when that was the Netscape moment for artificial, I was going to say internal affairs, artificial intelligence, when that popped, that is the time. And even before that, that's when those systems were still being used by AI. Even though it really wasn't public, they were using some type of it to control us and the way that we would digest content. And today, of course, well, it's there. So when you get on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, it's there and it feeds you specifically. It knows exactly what Connor likes and doesn't like, and it feeds me the perfect mix to keep me stuck and scrolling and not doing anything else with my life. And maybe you're the same. But if we're susceptible, being the hard and fast rulers of the day, the people that grew up in the 80s, that know what it's like to be bullied and manipulated and messed with by people that were bigger and stronger and more aware. Well, if we know that and we're able to be manipulated to this level, I don't think that people growing up have a chance if that's the intention and alignment of artificial intelligence. So it's going to continue. Today, it's going to be as bad as it ever will be. It's continuing to get better. Whole other things to talk about: images, videos, the things that you see. The best way you can protect yourself is by asking the question, the critical thought question: what is this? What is the intention behind what I'm watching? And if you think it's fake, don't be so sure. And if you think it's real, don't be so sure. There's a lot of manipulation by the powers that be, people in control of the artificial intelligence, to keep us stuck and to keep us interested. Bad thing, good thing. Soon we're going to be offered things to implant in our body to potentially make us more connected with artificial intelligence, to maybe speed us up a little bit, make us better at recall, make us other things. These are all going to be very personal decisions. You're going to have the people on one side of it saying this is the mark of the devil. You're going to have people on the other side saying, well, listen, you got stars on Nars and Sneetches, star-bellied Sneetches. Remember that Dr. Seuss story? Yeah, some people are going to be aligned and implanted with AI architectures, AI systems in their body. And some people are going to choose the way of the Amish, to probably stay far and far away from it. At some point, you might have to decide. At some point, it might be that you think, at least now, you might think that you have certain privacy. There is no privacy really anymore. When did you give it up? When did you sign your privacy away? I don't know if we ever really did, but there's a lot of terms of service agreements when you just get a phone, or when you ascribe to cable, or when you get a new LG TV. It's asking you to go through this legal content and agree or disagree. You can't just set up a television anymore, right? I mean, can you? You have to go through and you have to approve this. You have to put in an email your name. I don't think you can just get it connected to the internet and start, streaming Netflix. I think you have to make an agreement. Well, folks, if you've agreed to anything, you've probably given away your right to privacy a long time ago. Just something to know. Different than the AI talk. But as we move into the future, it's going to be much more relevant. And I believe that these systems are really going to be a game changer, to an nth degree for all of us in some way, shape, or form. You learning about it, understanding it just a little bit better each and every day, I believe is going to help you expand your mind. And that's going to be the purpose of this AI Over 50 show that I'm going to put together. Now, I haven't decided where I'm going to host it yet. This is the premiere video, just talking about it to get people to share. And I'll probably put it at AIover50.honorelevate.com. That's Honor Elevate. AI over 50, the number 50, honorelevate.com. I'll probably have the main page living there. And then for each of the episodes, I'll probably just have it 1.honorelevate.com, 2.honorelevate.com. And if any of that's confusing, I'll put it in the description so you know. But it's something I believe we need to bring ourselves more in understanding of. And I think that's going to keep us somewhat safer. And maybe, just maybe, we can be good advisors to those people that we love. And I know they're not going to want to hear it from dad or grandpa about how this is probably going to rot their brain and create issues. I mean, we were told that Kiss was going to rot our brain growing up and these different rock bands and the music. I don't know if it hurt us all that much, but we don't know any different. We don't know what it would have been without it because we had it. I'm sure we all loved it and probably still do. All right. Thank you so much for watching. This is going to be episode number 1. Please share it with those that you believe could use it. And I'm Connor with Honor. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.